Hello guys, it's me, Prince Artemis. Long time, no post. I know, today it's been 1 year since I posted. So here I got a video which I'm finally speaking. So just in case some of you guys, well, of my 61 subscribers as of now, are wondering how I sound, this is how I sound. Yeah, well, I'm kind of ill right now, so that's why my voice sounds like I'm dehydrated. But jokes aside, let's get into this. So, one thing I always love doing when I'm repainting pullets, monster highs, etc., I like to always come up with a base. So I've learned this through time because I wasn't a monster high or let's say Barbie repainter from the beginning. I was always into pullets. So I kind of learned this step through other monster high creators out there. It's always a good step to do because it allows you to have guidelines in a sense. I'm not doing a lot of detailed imprints when you're using this method, but it's just getting like a brown pencil or something in a light tone to kind of give you a basis for the eyes. It's always a big help. While I'm doing this layer, I always make sure to do blushing because with my repaints, I always tend to hyper blush. And I feel like the more layers of blush I have, the more better my repaint comes for my aesthetic. As you can see, I'm going in there with the blush. It's one of the key things. So of course, I use makeup brushes. Basically, when you do this, just make sure your makeup brushes are just for dolls if you're going to use them. And I always recommend cleaning your makeup brushes once you buy new ones. So the Mr. Super Clear dried super fast on this day because of the humidity. So I'm going straight in with some coloring pencils. I always love using a variety of pencils. I have different grades. I have cheap pencils. I have good quality. Right now I'm using this white polychroma Faber-Castell pencil. It's the only polychromo I have in my collection as of now. I am not lying, this pencil's a godsend to me because it's pigmented. It's pigmented similar to the Prismacolor white. However, it has a bit more oomph to it while the Prismacolor white hasn't. So after going in with this, as you can see, I'm just using a fine liner. Because the doll's hair is black, I decided just to I'm not using what? Did I just say fine liner? Well, I'm using a mechanical pencil. So I'm going straight in with a mechanical pencil because I feel like mechanical pencils add a lot of details, and because the doll's hair color is black, I decided to use the mechanical pencil for the eyebrows too, because why not use a 2-for-1 offer with this? And I'm just going in with a variety of pencils. So the reason I'm using a different variety of tones, because right now you guys are seeing yellow, you're going to see the end result and you're going to kind of be shocked because of the color difference. I like to use lighter colors to build up layers. It's always a good method I like to do because it basically helps even out the face up later on. I don't know how to explain it, but it's my method. Right now, as you can see, I'm using a very broke method with my pencils. Basically, I had this brown Prismacolor, and this brown was very pigmented, and I only had a tiny bit left. So I decided to get a pencil I didn't need anymore and duct tape the brown to it because why not? Apparently there is some pencil extenders out there which you could buy, but I don't know. So right now I'm just experimenting with some camera angles. I'm using my iPhone to record this, so I thought let me just zoom in, and as you can see, it shows more of a full glory impact of how a mechanical pencil goes when it comes to face ups. So some background information about the doll. I'm using a Alistar face sculpt for this. I had currently I have a lot of Ever After High Boys, one Alistar, one Dexter, and I have like 5 Hunters. So I basically have enough for the Armageddon. But going into it now, I decided to reroute him with this black hair I received. It was a fairly cheap black hair, I am not going to lie. I paid £1, which is equivalent to $1.20 in my local hobby store. So it's basically craft hair. It's very curly. And when I first saw that, I was like, but I am not going to lie. Once you see the doll's hair, you're going to be shocked because it actually looks really decent. Sadly, I never filmed myself rerouting because my iPhone was charging at the time. So, yeah. But the rerouting process is quite simple. There is loads of other YouTubers out there like Dollightful and Mozekyto who tends to do more of like a impactful video when it comes to rerouting. So if you are interested in that, I highly recommend checking them out. So this shows more up close on the details a mechanical pencil can go into. I wish there was a huge variety of lead you could get for mechanical pencils because I am not lying. Because of how thin the tip is, it helped so much. Sadly, I always have to sharpen my other pencils, while with mechanical pencils you don't waste wood and lead. I always feel like that. So I'm going in with a rubber because the eyebrows needed some slight evening. Evening. It's not today evening. I mean, it needs a little bit of an even sense because, you know, eyebrows are kind of like that. But I always recommend this to people. Eyebrows are supposed to be sisters, not twins. So don't ever don't ever stress about the eyebrows not being perfectly aligned. They just have to look similar. Basically, just see it like you and your best friend are dressing up exactly the same. You guys don't have the same faces, but you guys have the same energy. Yeah. So I'm going more in with the white polychromo because I feel like when it comes to building up layers, it's always good to build up the white. One of my friends recommended that I should water down some white acrylic paint. I've done this multiple times in the past, but I feel like it's always good to build a layer with pencils because they're more long lasting to me. So maybe it's just me, but if some people want to throw tips, go ahead and do it. Basically, every time I use acrylic paint or watercolor paint, I tend to have a slight issue because let's say I'm trying to put the face back on the body or I'm moving the doll around. Sometimes the acrylic paint can chip, even if I add a lot of layers of Mr. Super Clear. Maybe it's the method I'm doing, but if some people could give me some recommendations, I would highly appreciate it. But every time I use acrylic paint or let's say watercolor paint on a doll, I tend to be really careful because a lot of the doll's eyebrows I tend to use watercolor paint for because it gives me more details with a fine tip brush. But sadly, they just tarnish over time. So I'm going in with red now because the key color I chose for this doll was red. So some people may be confused saying, why did you do yellow? I felt like it may be a very interesting undertone to add highlights with. So that's why I did a big yellow eye in the beginning, and then I started to go in with browns and add more of a neutral. So with red, right, I wanted to do a red and black ombre type of situation, but it's basically majority dark. I like that type of contrast with red because I could do a bright red eye, but I wanted to try something slightly different when it has more of a darker undertone, but with a slight red pizzazz, or how I'd like to call it. You're gonna see more of that later on. So I'm just going in with my mechanical pencil and with my yellow just to do some highlighting and then adding more of a darker undertone with my dark brown pencil. This is a key basis for me because it helps build the color. It helps build a uniform effect. But yeah, this is just coming from me, a humble art student. Now I'm going in with my black. This is the only black pencil I could count on for my life. It's the Prismacolor black pencil. I need to buy a new set. Also, I'm using a black Stabler, but that's because that's all I have in hand. So if I'm using the black Prismacolor, I need to use the Stabler to kind of help it out a bit to give more of a sharper effect. Because you saw my Prismacolor, it's duct taped to the brim. I think there's legit one little layer of that pencil left. So I'm trying to milk as much as I can before I buy a new set of Prismacolors, because right now I'm just a broke college student and I don't have money for a lot of pencils. So yeah, just going in, keep going in with browns. With the lips, I like to use a variety of pencils and blush. Basically, one thing I'm gonna always say to people when it comes to building a face up, you could use pencils and blush to your advantage, because let's say that, you do a pencil layer first. You could go in with the next layer using blushing, and then it could help with some ombre effects or give you more of a smoother look. Always count on that. And if you do use water-based pencils, you could actually get a wet paintbrush and smooth out the color. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just enjoying this. As of you, it's really interesting. I like looking back at my face-up videos personally because it shows me what I could improve later on and what I've done wrong during the process. Right now, I'm quite happy and content with how I'm doing everything, because you have to be like that. Oh yeah, let's have a discussion. I thought this would be something to bring up good topics about doll art and what we could do as creators and artists. So one thing which I always see when I'm on Instagram or let's say forums, I see a lot of people, and when I mean a lot of people hate on themselves. And I'm not going to lie, we all start from somewhere. Sometimes talented face-up artists would get amazing results from the first ever repaint, but you guys have to understand they might have background training in different forms of art. For example, they might already be a master painter or somebody who is great at drawing flowers and using watercolor pencils. I thought I would highlight this because a lot of people have a lot of self-hating and self-loathing issues. I used to be one of them. One thing I am going to say to you, always believe in yourself. If you see issues, critique yourself. That's one thing I'm always going to say, because if you don't critique yourself, you're not going to learn. However, don't hate yourself, because if you fill your dull art with negativity, you're going to start being repulsed by it. You're going to start wanting to distance yourself from that form of art because you see it more as a competition in a sense. You don't see it as something to become a stress reliever. And that used to be a big deal to me. Dolls never used to be a stress reliever. It used to just cause me stress because I used to compare myself to all of these amazing artists. And I am not going to lie to you, my first ever Monster High repaint was in 2016. So 4 years later, and I'm able to produce this good quality worth of work. Just always believe in yourself. That's what I'm always going to say, because you could be your biggest enemy, but you could always be your biggest supporter. And there's nobody who got your back more than yourself. That's one thing you guys have to always understand. So for me, ranting on that, there is already a big development in the face up. As you can see, just on my Apple headphones, but we're just going more in with the pencil. I always like to do this. Never at the later stages, I would go in with the black Prismacolor, but as of now, I'm just going in with the black mechanical pencil. Technically, it has like a dark grey because that's how graphite works on face-ups. However, it helps me in the long run. I'm going in with the eyelashes, and I'm also putting a bit in the middle because I wanted to give like a darker impact to the lips to blend out with the rest of the face. Because with me, right, if I'm doing a dramatic look on boys, I feel like I need to tone down the lips a bit or add a bit more darker elements to work with the eyes to add more of a masculine undertone. That's one thing about me. The reason I tend to do this is because with Ever After High boys, I feel like they tend to give a masculine type of effect, whilst in my eyes, Monster High boys are more suited for feminine elements. However, it's all about how you want your doll to be when you're repainting, because that's the magic of repainting. This is your perspective, your opinion, and your art. You shouldn't let other people's opinions and viewpoints phase what you think. So I might think it's masculine, but you may think it's feminine. That's the beauty of art. It's subjective, and it's all about your inner peace. So now I'm going in with some black chalk pastel, and it already adds some pop. I always recommend not going in with black in the beginning if you're using it on a neutral based doll such as this. It's mainly because sometimes the black could be too overpowering and give different undertones to the face up you want. So if you're trying to do a face up that has like natural colors but mixed with a dramatic smoky eye, I recommend building that smoky eye with brown undertones first. Then you go in with your darker elements such as black, charcoal grey, and it works out well and it's a good layer. That's one thing I'm always going to say. And also, one thing I've gained from using black in the past, if you use it as a foundation layer, sometimes it gives a chalky / smoky effect, but not in a good way. It gives like a very, how can I call it, an amateur makeup artist look. So it looks like you never blended everything out properly. And I'm not going to lie, that could work out well if you're doing a, let's say, gothic inspired doll or something which is very punk like, because a lot of punk illustrations and makeup styles tend to have unblended smoky eye. However, if you're trying to do something like this, stick to the words I give you. You could experiment for yourself, because I know that black could blend differently with, let's say, a doll like Ghoulia's color, but with more natural based colors such as Hunter, Deuce, and of course Dexter and Alistair, it works differently in my opinion. So right now the eyes are already dark. I still can't believe this is from yellow. When I showed this to some of my friends, they were kind of like, what? I swear his eyes were going to be yellow. And I explained to them, no, I did yellow as a base tone. So that's the beauty of it, because when you want to try and add a highlight, it's always good to do that type of stuff. So blend your colors in. I know some artists who would start off with darker colors first, and then they would achieve a gradient effect with lighter colors later on through layering. And that is also a eligible format you could use. However, it's all about how you feel comfortable. I feel comfortable with this type of broadcast because it allows me to captivate stuff through my mind, if you get what I mean. That's one thing I also wanted to say too. As artists, one thing could work for me, but it can't work for you. Vice versa, something you could captivate beautifully, you're able to use that skill and style to your max abilities. But when I try to do it, I won't be as advanced. It's quite a unique thing. Everybody tends to use a paintbrush differently. Sometimes you could have similarities with somebody else, but you could do something different. And I'm not talking about doing paint strokes. It's all about your grip. It's all about your tension. And that could work with how you do face-ups. With me, I'm very hard set when it comes to my pencils, and boy, I tend to break the lead a lot. So now we're going in with dressing the doll. This is kind of like a very interesting part for me because I was trying to do Final Fantasy mixed with Haute Couture. So right now I know which colors are in is the checkered print trousers / the line print suit trousers. I also had this doll dress which I produced for a pull-up, however it was a bit too tight. So I decided to reuse that dress, in a sense upcycle, to make a sleeve cuff. It's hard to explain what I was trying to go for, but I was trying to mix Rococo fashion with Haute Couture and fantasy elements. So I wanted to give like a sleeve which connected through a piece of string, and the sleeve was going to be very puffy, and then I wanted to like do a corset. Right now I'm using a pair of after high trousers. Legit, I have so much of these trousers, why not? I cut it into pieces and I decided to make a template. I'm not going to lie to you, I don't even have internet at home. Well, I do have internet, but I don't have a printer, so I have to make my own templates. This is also a great way if you want to make your templates, but bro, I am not lying to you, this is kind of a struggle, low-key. There are talented artists out there who sell templates, just in case you're kind of afraid of cutting up and destroying doll garments. There are artists such as Requiem, they have an Etsy you could check out. I'll make sure to link a lot of the artists I'm referring to in my description box. So if you're interested in templates, go ahead, but you need a printer, that's what I'm going to say. So as you can see, this is what I call the long pause, aka I'm taking my god-ass time doing this. So I'm just using a ruler, but one thing I'm going to tell you, I don't know how stupid I am. Maybe I was distracted that good Tama was on my ruler, but I legit made that curve. I made that straight line curve. Imagine that. Imagine being that stupid. So now I'm just going in for the fun of it, cutting up the template, and I'm taking my time. I think it's mainly because I was holding two pieces of paper together, and I don't know why I was doing that, because I literally reused the same piece again. I just flipped it around to make the other pant leg. So here I am pinning it to the fabric, and to be honest, like, pins do work for some people, but I always prefer adding masking tape to doll fabric because it helps you get more of a better situation. I cut and made dresses in the past for humans, but when it comes to dolls, I always prefer, if I'm using the template, to do this because it makes sure that you don't cut anything stupidly. So now I'm going in, cutting out the other pant leg, and as you can see, I just reflected the original piece again. And okay, wait. Did you see I tried doing a transition, but it failed? So now I put the pant leg on the doll. This is what I like to do to see if I'm doing the right thing, and I'm using this lace trim that one of my friends, shout out to you Mitch, from America sent me. I think they got this from Hobby Lobby, but don't quote me. I thought, let me add this lace trim to the arm cuff towards the element which hits the shoulder, and I also thought to add it to the corset. Now looking at the trousers, I didn't know what I was trying to achieve from them in terms of what I could use, but later on you're going to see what I'm doing. So as of now, I'm just cutting the lace trim because I didn't want to cut it while I was at the sewing machine. Trust me, that could be messy and you could waste a lot of the trim. So now I'm showing you how I just sew the trousers. This is a basic step. I am not lying to you, I'm not using any fancy dancy sewing machine. I'm actually using an industrial sewing machine, which a lot of doll people don't recommend. You could still use these for making doll garments, however people prefer the bigger, more pricier machines, and I can't blame them because you get more precision. However, I am not going to lie to you, using this industrial machine, I was able to make the trousers and add the lace trimmings to the corset and like fix the corset, and also do the sleeve within 40 minutes. I am not lying to you, I'm dead ass being serious. I also made the sleeve cuff / dress because, as I stated earlier, it was originally a doll dress. That took me about 35 to 40 minutes on its own when I was making it as a pull-up dress on the sewing machine. So fun fact, the corset, well technically it's a lace top, was actually a pull-up garment. It belonged to pull-up Arietta. I have two of these in my collection, so I was like, screw it, I'm going to use this. It's always good to do that. Upcycle some doll garments which will work for your projects. That's what I'm always going to say. So I'm just finishing off the trousers by doing the mid seam, and trust me, the trousers could be pesky. I never tried to achieve anything full detailed as of now, but you're going to see what I did later on to add some interesting elements. Going back to the corset, I was really fond of the lace which I saw from Pull Up Arrieta's top, and sadly none of my dolls was wearing it because it didn't match the aesthetic, and I also have two. So what was I going to do with them? So from this, I just decided to go and reuse it for this garment. Right now I'm just stitching some black lines to the corset. Originally I was going to leave it plain, but I decided to add some black lines to it to match the arm cuff slash, well, I don't know what to call it, but it's an arm cuff. I decided to add like black thread to the sewing machine because it made it a bit more interesting. And some people, when I showed them it, they were kind of confused by it, but I was trying to go through a very like raw stitch look, if that makes sense. Here I am coming up with new terminology every day. So the corset is finished. I'm just adding the last lace trim, and bam, my sewing machine starts breaking the thread. So I have a problem with this because I do have tension and precision issues. I can't even say precision. I have tension issues when it comes to making I have tension issues when it comes to sewing and using the sewing machine in particular, so I tend to break the thread a lot. I used to think it's because I used to layer a lot of garments. However, if you could see right now, I'm layering it and the thread is not breaking, and it just shows that you need to sometimes be careful when using the sewing machine, because boy, it could be like, you could ruin a garment like Marge Simpson did in The Simpsons. So now we're just going in and finishing it off, adding the back stitch, and now we're going for the lovely arm cuff. So with the arm cuff, I decided to tighten it a bit because I wanted to have more of a singed feel on the bicep area of the ever after high body. So I decided to go turn it inside out. You're gonna see a lot of raw stitching, dead ass raw stitching. And I just sewed through my own knowledge on what I would think the bicep would be. I sadly never sewed it that tightly, so it was slightly loose on the bicep. However, the finishing effect never fazed me at all. And guys, I'm so sorry about my voice. I'm so sorry. I'm really ill. Really ill. But going back to our regular broadcasting, now I'm adding the lace trim. I'm kind of being careful. Right now you're going to see what I mean. I'm stitching it, and I was actually happy that I'm nearly finished. Bam, the lace trim falls off because the thread broke. So now you're gonna see me struggle for the next 5 minutes on taking out a bobbin. Yeah. I finally add the bobbin back in, and now we're going back to sewing. So I basically added the lace trim, and I made sure to be a bit more careful with my tension. I have to work with that. That's my only issue. Tension when it comes to doll clothes. I think it's because it's miniature. So now we're back with our lovely guy. Sadly, I don't have a name for him as of now. And we're just seeing how the whole outfit looks on him. So right now you could see there's raw stitching, raw thread. Some areas will have tarnished fabric. However, we're going to fix that up later on with fabric glue and maybe some stitching. We also have to trim a lot of the raw threads. That's one thing I get angry at. So right now I'm just using some rivets. These are like really cool. I wish I had miniature ones because I know you could obtain miniature ones from somewhere. However, these were the only ones I could find in my local grocery market. However, these work perfectly and are going to help me with the outfit. So to add the rivet to the piece, what you have to do is cut a small hole. Cut a small hole inside the piece. There's two elements which I have to cut the hole in. So I added the rivet and then used the clamp, and then I went and did the same for the reverse. And trust me, this was actually a very interesting way because when when I was introduced to rivets through school, I was introduced to the 2-part system, while this is a 1-part system. So thinking, what is a 1-part system rivet? Technically, that's not the original name / terminology, but a 1-part rivet system. A 1-part system rivet is a rivet what uses just one individual hoop, and then you just clamp it together and it clamps. As you can see now, I'm struggling to show you how it works, but I'm wasting a rivet for this video. So you put the rivet inside of the mechanism and then you clank it, and voila, it singes. So from this, it singes to the fabric, so the ugly end stays on the reverse end of the fabric, while the prettier looking end stays on the opposite end. So as of now, I'm just adding it to the Ever After High Boy, and bam, I got this very beautiful gold string. I have a bunch of it, but it's only a little bit, so I was kind of like, oof, what if I don't have enough? But thankfully, I had just enough for this doll, because I was using this for other elements. So as you can see, I'm just putting it through the hoop, tying the hoop. I kind of failed a bit because when I was tying the string to the hoop, I left a mini hoop, if that makes sense. But it never ruined the overall aesthetic of the doll, but it was kind of like, ugh. So now I'm just looking at the ugly part, which is that frayed part of fabric, and now we're going behind because we need to add the ribbon there. So it's like a 2-part. With this, I'm trying to do a 2-part system because I feel like it makes it more secure. One of my friends told me why not put the original ribbon through the second hoop, but I feel like that could cause issues later on personally, and ain't nobody got time for that. So yeah, right now it's just bam, 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 bam. Yeah, I'm just being random as of now. So I had some ribbon left and I was like, should I make a necklace? Sadly, I decided not to. Right now I'm taking off the trousers because I plan on adding hoops to them. But you're going to see a jump cut in a few seconds time now because trust me, I didn't want to show you the whole struggling process of me adding the rivets to the trousers. However, I did show how I planned it out, so I just got a typical fine liner which matched the fabric. Right now, I thought I would kind of show you one of my best friends in the whole entire world. This is Peanut the Turtle. Say hi to Peanut, everybody. Well, I use him to stab my pins into, so yeah. Right now I'm taking one of the things I stabbed him with and I'm placing it on top of the boy because I don't want to lose this needle. And I don't know why, but I showed you a scone I was eating. Yeah, I know, I'm trash. So I'm kind of taking my time right now because I was going through my pen bin to find a pen which is a similar color / something which is blendable to the fabric. And I also got some button snaps which are quite miniature, so I just sewed this onto the trousers for obvious reasons. So when it comes to sewing these on, you do have to be kind of careful because these are miniature, so it could be very pesky and you don't want to go and stab yourself accidentally. I did that twice. Yes, I know. Wow. I'm going more into stitching. So after I'm done stitching it, I just basically went and added the reverse end. The reverse end kind of took a bit longer than I expected. However, this is a speeded up video, so you can't see that. Yeah, I don't know why I never edited this part of the video out, but now we're back. We're back to sewing. So now we're going back to the reverse end of this, and I got the pen out which matched the fabric, and bam, I just drew 2 sections. The reason I got a pen which matched the fabric was just in case it bled through the fabric, and now I added the hoops. So I was really pleased at how this looked because it made the trousers look 10 times better than they already did. That's one thing which I'm always going to tell you guys. If you make a basic style trouser or dress, if you accessorize it or add ribbons, lace, sometimes elements like this, it will go and jazz up the trousers or piece like a lot. It's like you're dressing a piece. You know when you dress up a doll to make it look a bit better? When you're dressing the trousers up, when you're adding the patterns, when you're adding the little details, it just overall saturates everything. It's like you're baking a cake in a sense. So now I got some beads. These are actually from some aqua beads. It's from an old aqua bead playset, and I'm not lying, yes. I'm a child. I'm a 5-year-old girl who likes aqua beads. I just wrapped it around these, if that makes sense. I trimmed it slightly and rehooked it. So now we're just going straight up and dressing the doll up. And right now you're going to see areas which I'm pointing at. The reason I'm pointing at these areas is to show what I added fabric glue to. And I feel like it's always good to add fabric glue to your pieces, mainly just to help remove frayed fabric and to make everything perfect. And as you can see, I did that annoying finger snap thing. I don't know who I am. Am I a magician? No. To be honest, I'm not Houdini. I'm just someone who's basic. So as you can see, I'm just dressing up the doll and it's going good. It's going good. So I'm using these shoes which I stole from a Taeyong doll. I added some gold, glitter and elements to it, and I felt like that would work well with the gold ribbon. Overall, I am quite pleased at how this doll came out personally. I don't know what I'm going to name him, so can you guys in the comment section choose a name below. Overall, I'm really pleased with him because he kind of came out how I imagined in my head. The black hair looks amazing on him, and I still can't believe I paid $1.20 for this hair. Shout out to my American folk out there for using your currency. Overall, I hope you guys like this video, and I hope everyone's safe during quarantine. Please check down below in my description box because I have resourceful elements for you to use for your own projects. Make sure to take care. Love you all to the moon and back. Bye.